Travelling with rats doesn't have to be stressful. If you put some thought and preparation into your journey, you can make it a lot less stressful for yourself and a lot more comfortable for your rats. Now, most of you will have seen or have this type of carrier. This is the Ferplast Aladino, and it's the largest size. It's the rabbit size. It's the smallest carrier we would use for adult rats, although we do have the guinea pig size, which is fine for small rats or younger rats. Now, this carrier is great. I think it's the strongest of this type of carrier. It's quite sturdy, but I would still only use it for very short journeys, an hour or so to the vet and back. The main problem with it is it's not much space, and also it's not easy to attach a water bottle, although we have managed to attach one, and I'm going to show you how we did that. So we've got the Aquabiba bottle, which is by Savic. It has this strange paperclip type hook, and we've got a cargo net clip and one of these spring hooks. And what we've done is we've got the cargo net hook at the back with the spring clip, and then we've very securely wound the paperclip type hook around this clip here. You've got to make sure that it's very well wound round, because you do not want the bottle to fall off and hit your rats and injure them. You also have to look at the positioning of the clip, because you need to open the handles and you need to be able to open the lid. So, and bear in mind that when that lid is open with the water bottle, it's quite heavy, so make sure as you get the rats out that you support that with your other hand, or ask someone else to hold the lid, because you don't want any injuries. And inside here we have our normal back to nature bedding, safe bed, and we've just put some rat nuggets in the corner. So that is that one. Now, this is a very sturdy carrier. I'm quite happy with this one, that it won't pop open, but I would still always hold it by the handles and support it underneath at the same time. And something that a lot of people have mentioned with some of the cheaper carriers is that they do come open, and that is obviously very dangerous. So get yourself a webbing type belt and use that around the carrier, and it will just give you some extra support. You can tighten that up. Okay, now if it is a very cold day, I would get a cardboard box. It doesn't really matter what size the cardboard box is, but not too big. I would line it with a fleecy blanket. You can do this all neatly. I'm just going to do it quickly, but you can line it around the bottom and sides like this, and you can sit the carrier right in. Now, if you had a slightly taller box, then the sides would be up like this, and that would just give some extra protection. And always remember to leave the top open for ventilation. Now, the other thing you've got, if it is a very, very hot day, is you've got a problem keeping your rats cool. So we have a freezer pack that's been in the freezer overnight, and we will wrap that into a tea towel. Now, the thing with this is the rats can get too cold. So what I would do is put that in the bottom, and then put a thin layer of fleece on top. So you've got the two layers, and then I would stick my carrier into my box. Now, for this you want a box where the carrier will just sit on the edge here, so there's actually a gap of a couple of inches underneath the carrier, and that will actually keep your rats, the actual carrier, off of the ice block, because you do not want your rats to get chilled. That will be as bad as overheating them. So check the temperature regularly, put your hand inside, make sure that the rats are okay. While you're travelling with rats, I would not ever get them out in the car, on the train, on the bus, wherever. You are just asking for trouble. Even the tamest, most placid rats can get spooked, and you do not want to lose your rats. The other thing to think about is where to position them if you're in the car. Now, if you can't sit on the back seat with the rats next to you holding on to them, then I think the safest place is in the footwell between the front seat and the back seat. Never put them in the boot. if you have an estate car, it's not safe for this type of carrier to be sitting loose in the back of an estate car either. So if it's wedged in a box on the floor, so if you do an emergency stop, it can't roll around. If you have the type of carrier that has hooks on for attaching a seat belt, then I would protect the seat with a sheet or an old blanket or something, just in case your rats decide to hook their hands out and have a little claw at the seats. But obviously don't put plastic where the rats can hook plastic in. Also, you've got to think about, you need them not to have fumes coming into their cage either from the car or through the window from other cars. You mustn't have them in a draft or in direct sunlight. Constantly check they're not too hot or not too cold. So there is the short journey situation. I'm just going to move that out of the way. Just give me a little bit more space here. Now, our second type of cage is this one, which is the Ferplast. Now, it's got a funny name. I can never remember the whole name, but it's the Ferplast Mini Duna Multi cage, around £20 without the accessories. Now this is a hamster cage, but we only use this as an emergency cage. What it is very good for is if you had to take a group of rats to the vet and you're travelling by car, this would be a very good one to take with you. If you had emergency evacuation of your home and you had a group of rats, this would also be a great one, because you could keep the rats in there overnight, and during the next day if you had to leave your house for any reason. Now the good thing about this is the access. It has a nice big lid at the top here that opens up, and as you can see there, I've attached with one of the cargo net clips, I've attached a Savic drinking water aqua bottle. The other type you can attach is this type of classic bottle. You can often get them with a little hanging hook, and that has a slightly better spout because it's at an angle. The aqua one, it might take a bit of your rats getting used to. The other thing I would say is, if you're going to travel, always get your rats used to the new cage before you travel, so it's not a strange and scary experience for them. Now obviously you're going to have your normal bedding in the bottom. If you have fleece, that's fine, put some fleece in. I would give a handful of safe bed paper. Don't put any houses or toys in here, because if you have a sudden stop in the car, anything that moves about could injure your rats. We tend to put a pile of nuggets in one corner and cover them with safe bed paper. And you can change the nuggets if it's a long journey. You can remove any old stale ones and put some fresh ones in during the course of the journey, because you do need to check on your rats. I would give them a safe type wood chew, something that's not going to injure them at all if it flies about, so fairly lightweight, but I'd make sure that they have some chews. It helps to have a little bit of paper from their actual house, so that everything smells familiar for them. And again, because of the safety aspect, I have 2 luggage straps. These are full-size suitcase straps, and I attach one across this way, the width, and one across this way, and that gives me a lot of extra security that the clips won't come open while we're actually carrying the cage. Now this one could be strapped into the back seat of the car. If you were to put it into the back of an estate car, it needs to be securely wedged and somewhere where nothing heavy can fall on it, because it is plastic. Again, never into the boot of the car. Now that's fine for actually getting to your destination. As in a real emergency, you could keep your rats in there for a couple of days, say you had to leave your house. But if you're going away for a week, that's not going to be big enough at all. So I'm going to bring my camera over here, and I have got here, this is Beth, Maggie and Sasha's cage, which is the Savic Zeno or Zeno 2 cage. Now the good thing about this is it gives the rats a lot more room, and it all packs back completely flat into the base, so it's a knockdown cage. So that's that one. And this is a nice one, because if you don't have a lot of space to have a spare cage out all the time. The fact is you can fold it away. I wouldn't want to be building this cage every week. We do have 3 videos on YouTube. I can't remember exactly what they're called, but it's the Savic Zeno 2 cage, and it's 3 which tells you all about the cage, the process of building it, and then shows it all set up. So that is one that would be ideal for 2 or 3 rats for a whole week once you get to your destination. There's another similar one that we used to have, I can't show you at the moment, and that is the Ferplast Furet Plus cage. They're all round about the same price. We're looking around about £70 to £80 for these big cages. So the little hamster cage, I forgot to mention, the little Duna cage there, buy it without the accessories because then it's a lot cheaper. You save about £15. I think it costs around about 20. These cages are all available from Amazon, and some of them are actually available from Pets at Home. So that was a good size, and when you're going to be at your destination, it's a good job, like I said, to have a little bit of paper from your other cage or a hammock that your rats have maybe used for a few days, so that everything smells of home, and that just makes the transition a little bit easier. So that is a nice cage for travelling and for space saving. Now I'm going to have to move the camera around again, and I'm just going to show you what I've got over here. I've got 2 of my Mary cages, and I've actually set one of them up to show you how you can use this cage. And the other thing you've got to remember is make sure you have all your supplies. So you have spare water bottles, your food, your bedding, your little treats. And we've found that these branded clip lock boxes are really good for keeping your treats and food and everything nice and clean and fresh. Be wary of cheap plastic boxes, ones that are not food grade, because they can contaminate your food, and some of them smell really, really dreadful. But the clip lock boxes we find are no nasty smells and will keep your food fresh for quite a while. So anyway, my final type of cage is our Mary cage, and this is the Ferplast Mary. Now, see, we've got 2 here stacked on top of each other. I've got one here which is completely empty, and then I've got this other one here which I've set up, which I've temporarily got Jack in, just to, he might show his face in a minute, he's busy eating. But with this you can get quite a lot of stuff in. You can add cargo nets and hammocks to make different layers. You can actually put a shelf in here, a platform shelf in here, and a ladder. You can make this cage really interesting, and you'll see on some of my older videos how we've used this cage. Now this has a front door and a top opening door, which is quite good for the access here, so the whole door opens there. The thing with the Savic cage, hello Jack, hello, yeah, we're just having a look. You're being my little model man, aren't you? Yeah, I'll get you out in a minute. The thing with the Savic cage is that it only has the one small access door on the front. And here in here, let's see if we can just adjust this camera down, and hopefully we're going to see my little girls. And this is home to Sasha, Maggie and Beth. They are very small rats who had stunted growth when they came to us because they'd been kept in a tiny little glass cage. So they're quite happy in this cage, and they have lots and lots of time out of the cage. The advantage over the Ferplast Furet cage is that the Furet cage has a big open door and the whole of the roof opens up. So I think I've about told you everything I can about the different types of cages that we use. And I've mentioned the different things that you need to think about. So it's really the safety. It's very much the same as travelling with babies and young children. Be prepared. Think of everything you could possibly need, even if you don't actually use it. And if you're travelling in the car and you've got a cage such as this Mary cage is here, you can actually store your spare bedding and everything in them if the rats are in a smaller carrier. So there we go. Hello, little Sash. Hello, my little lovely. It's the camera. Yeah, is it scaring you? Is it making funny noises? I can't hear it, but maybe you can. So happy travelling with your rats. Be prepared. You're very suspiciously looking at that camera, aren't you, Sash? Hey? What is it? What is it, Sasha? So have fun with your rats. Enjoy your holiday. And one last thing is, when you get to your holiday destination, be very aware, if you're going to let your rats outside the cage, to pick a small room that's completely safe. If there's any doubt, don't let them go on the floor, because there could be little holes under furniture or somewhere where they could disappear into a crack in the floor, and you don't want to lose your rats. So be very, very aware of playtime safety. Take an old sheet or duvet cover to spread onto a sofa or a bed or whatever. If your rats are in a small cage, they do need to come out more for playtime and lots of attention, and reassure them. But do not lose your rats on holiday. Be very, very aware of all the little hidden dangers, and I hope you have a wonderful time.